the biggest action step that you could take from this video is to do just that. Eat 1 pound of ground beef every single day. This is an incredible source of. In my left hand, I'm literally gonna be going into my pocket and pulling out the keys to the kingdom. And in this video today, I'm gonna be teaching you guys literally how I went from being an incredibly low T to incredibly high T, in excess of 900 nanograms per deciliter testosterone. I'm literally gonna be teaching you guys how to triple your testosterone, get more juice out of the squeeze of this life. I used to struggle with packing on lean, quality muscle mass, getting optimal sleep, certainly being able to cold approach attractive women. I had this humdrum inner anxiety that really took so much from me on the front end. And on the back end, on the other side of struggle, namely serenity, that's exactly what I want all of you guys to experience. So sit back, relax, and buckle up for this one, boys, and really let this one land. So one of the most important aspects of optimizing your endocrinology is just being very, very conscious of the types of dietary fats that you're consuming. I'm actually out here at Target right now, and I'm gonna give you guys like a quick example, just looking at a couple different nutritional labels and just give you an idea of like exactly what you wanna look for. So like the first example that I would give you is Oatly. So this is a type of like plant-based, quote unquote, healthy milk. And what I'm recommending here, guys, really, to be honest with you, flies in the face of the AHA, the American Heart Association. So you'll see on screen right now the nutritional label that I'm looking at. And literally, I'm just looking at the total fat and I see 5 grams. What you want to do is make sure the saturated fat, ideally, is as maxed out as possible, like at least 50%. In this case, it's 0.5 grams. So that's literally 10% and falls 40% short of what we're looking for. They don't even tell you the amount of mono and polyunsaturated fats. And it's the poly fats that are precisely problematic and hormone disrupting. On the contrary, what we've got over here is like a really good organic grass-fed whole milk. And what you guys can see on screen now, in stark contrast to what we just looked at, is a really good ratio of saturated fat. Just looking here, 5 grams to total fat, 8 grams. So that's checking that box. It's more than 50% saturated and is going to help you T-max. So another thing that you want to be really careful about are hidden seed oils, vegetable oils. I've said it once, I've said it 1,000,001 times until I'm blue in the face. So you can see on screen the nutritional label that I'm looking at now, and what I'm seeing as one of the top ingredients is low erucic acid rapeseed oil, guys, also known as canola oil. These are extracted in factories that resemble oil refineries. They are not fit for human consumption. These were literally designed to lubricate machinery and not mankind. The problem with these vegetable oils, with these polyunsaturated fats, is that they literally get stored in your body fat for several years and they will tank your testosterone and elevate your estrogen. All right, so one of the best bits of advice that I could possibly give you to T-max, to triple your testosterone, go from a low T to a high T man, and I'm sure you've heard this 1,000,001 times, but it's to really optimize your sleep. And I'm gonna give you a mindset shift, which is instead of setting an alarm to wake up, set an alarm to go to bed. And the impact of that is twofold. So the first thing is that it's going to help sync your circadian rhythm, going to bed around the same time. And to be honest, it doesn't necessarily matter. I mean, if you go to bed at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11, just make sure that it's conserved, that it's consistent day to day, and wake up when your body is actually ready. The mindset shift is that sleep is a superpower, truly. Creatine monohydrate is the most studied ergogenic aid, but nothing parallels the impact of a good night of sleep. If you get deep, restorative sleep, this is going to be, quite frankly, arguably the #1 thing that you can do to optimize your endocrinology. So we've talked a bit now about the importance of dietary fat, and earlier in Target I showed you guys a comparison and contrasting of a really wholesome, proper grass-fed milk versus Oatly, one of these espoused as healthy plant-based milks. And during that segment I mentioned the importance of celebrating saturated fat and getting at least 50% of your dietary fat sourced from such. But now I'm gonna give you guys really granular, tangible targets for each of the macronutrients: protein, carbohydrates, and fat. So starting things off with protein, take your body weight in pounds, say you are 180 pounds, and divide by 1.2. That's gonna be how many grams of protein, animal-based, animal-derived, that you're gonna wanna be consuming per day. And examples of what constitutes animal-based would be things like meat, eggs, and full-fat dairy, eggs, cheese, and milk. For your carbohydrates, what you're gonna wanna do if you're a male is ideally get a bottom bare minimum baseline of 150 grams per day and get as much of that as possible from starch. So that's gonna be things like ideally white rice or potatoes. Basmati, by the way, is the best grain of rice in my opinion. It has the moderate GI, that means glycemic index, and it's lowest in otherwise problematic things like arsenic and phytic acid. Now to wrap things up guys, dietary fat. We mentioned earlier celebrating the importance of saturated fat, but as a total daily target, again, if you're 180 pounds, take that weight and divide by 2. So in that case, you would want to be getting at least 90 grams of dietary fat per day. Now, the other thing you can do for you metric folks is simply eat 1 gram per kilogram of dietary fat. So that's actually going to be a little bit less than body weight divided by 2. So let's say you are 80 kilograms, then you're going to be getting 80 grams of dietary fat per day. So one of the most important keys to the kingdom of being truly endocrinologically optimized in a very high T man is simply getting leaner. So there's actually an enzyme, maybe you've heard of it before, called aromatase. And what aromatase does is it concentrates in adipose tissue, in body fat. And it's an incredibly estrogenic enzyme that catalyzes the conversion of free testosterone into a really potent form of estrogen called estradiol. And the problem with this is actually twofold, because when estrogenic aromatase activity is high because you're storing excess body fat, not only are you converting more free testosterone into estradiol, but you're converting less free testosterone into a more androgenic form called DHT, dihydrotestosterone. And that conversion is mediated by a different enzyme called 5-alpha reductase, but it gets outcompeted if you have excess aromatase activity. So the best advice I can give, and this applies to myself, I'm certainly not quite as lean as I need to be truly optimized, is to aim for about 10 to 12% body fat. And I'm gonna throw a picture up on screen right now to give you guys the best visual approximation of what that entails, because the truth is, unless you're literally dead, like you're actually a cadaver, and you could quantify the amount of body fat you have relative to your total body weight, there's no actual indisputably accurate way to assess this. Sure, you've got higher end options like DEXA scans or hydrostatic weighing. These are very impractical. And the ones that are more practical, like BIA, bioelectrical impedance analysis, you know, like even like smartwatches can apparently do this nowadays, but these are incredibly notoriously inaccurate and are based on a number of factors such as how hydrated you are, how much bone mass you have, different things that these predetermined equations can't really put their finger on the pulse of. So my advice, 10 to 12%, go by the graphic up on screen. So wrapping things up guys, let's talk a little bit about mineral status. And you're probably noticing an overarching theme here in terms of food, prioritizing that, putting that first. It's not only necessary to fix your physiology, but food is really necessary to ace in order to optimize your endocrinology. So let's talk a little bit about ZMA. It stands for zinc and magnesium. So this was in past years a very popularized bodybuilding supplement that guys would take close to bedtime to facilitate sleep, and it also helps maximize your testosterone levels. But I'm going to tell you about my personal approach to this, which is not to actually buy a ZMA supplement, but rather to allow diet to do most of the heavy lifting, and then to spot supplement, or as I like to say, to stack on top of an already solid dietary foundation. The best advice I could ever give you guys, this will literally change your life dramatically in terms of how much better you're going to be able to think and feel and navigate life effectively. And it flies in the face, again, of what the American Heart Association has recommended, has advocated. But red meat is incredibly heart healthy, and I personally consume 1 pound every single day. I think the biggest action step that you could take from this video is to do just that. Eat 1 pound of ground beef every single day. This is an incredible source of myriad, countless nutrients: creatine, carnitine, phosphatidylserine. The list goes on and on. It has an amazing saturated to polyunsaturated fat ratio, incredible source of leucine, the rate limiting step for muscle protein synthesis. It's a type of branched chain amino acid. Beef is honestly the best, guys, and that's what I do to get my 25 milligrams, and that's gonna be your target to optimize testosterone of zinc per day. So eat a pound of beef, and then what I recommend picking up, this is the bar none, aside from arguably a vitamin D3 supplement, most vital for overall health and well-being is a chelated magnesium supplement. So you can get magnesium bisglycinate chelate, and I will put a link to that in the description for you guys to pick up, just so you can see the specific brand that I use. But as long as it is amino acid chelated, there's a brand that I use called Doctor's Best, but feel free to use whatever brand is accessible and affordable to you. So that's gonna wrap this one today, boys. Do me a solid, drop a comment down below, like and subscribe if you garnered any value whatsoever from this video. The future of this channel is gonna be really zeroed in on a physiology-focused approach, and I'm gonna be teaching you guys everything, the entire nuts and bolts, how I went from a low T beta male when I was 15 years old and diagnosed with a chronic disease that I was gonna be medicated for the rest of my life, to someone who is truly thriving. And I can say this honestly, that I feel like I've finally gone home. I feel like I've finally showed up to the party of life and become the person that I was supposed to be. I'm actually amidst a pretty epic cut to single-digit body fat, so I'm really excited to epitomize for you guys what is possible naturally for the male physique as well. So be sure to stay tuned for that, and until next time, friends, find your freedom. Peace.